So there are moments, and then there are man-bun moments that change the course of history. Now, whether or not David Krejci's man-bun, which was executed very well, incredibly stylish, and I think timing appropriate, changes the course of the season for the Boston Bruins, who the hell knows? We have a hard time figuring this team out. I think we'd agree on that. However, we also agreed as the Boston Bruins skate to an exciting, a bit crazy, and very old-school 7-5 victory on Saturday afternoon over the Pittsburgh Penguins, that it was the man-bun of Krejci, which seemed actually, I don't want to say spontaneous, but a bit of a surprise to some of his teammates that may have set the tone for this as we welcome you into Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. The morning after, the Bruins get the victory, a much-needed victory, a victory that says we're still here, but now, sound like a broken record, Razor, they need to build on it. And that's the thing that we haven't seen enough this season yet.
That's right. And that's the ride the roller coaster. And we've talked about it, and we're trying not to ride the roller coaster, I think. And we've talked about it, but that's what this group is right now. And can they string a bunch of wins together, or do we, do they only get 1 out of 4 points against the Philadelphia Flyers this next 2 games and get close again? That'll be the interesting question. We've got if we're just talking about this game, though, you talk about how they got to their game after the first period, how it looked like a Bruins team that we've been accustomed to the last 3-4 years. Moving David Pastrnak down on the second line that you've been advocating forever looked like a perfect fit. Craig Smith looked good on that top line, being, adding a little bit something different for them, giving them some energy. So it was a great game. It seemed like a game the whole team needed, an energy game where everybody's scoring, but it's still close and there was intensity all the way through. It seemed like they were excited to have played it as well. So let's hope that's a catalyst as well.
The real question is this, not when I say the real Bruins team, I'm not talking 7 Golden Knights all the time. I'm talking, is this the real potential of this Bruins team, or is this a one-off for both teams? Because Pittsburgh's been phenomenal lately.
Yeah.
And that didn't really seem like their game, especially defensive structured-wise. But while we're having fun with it, and we should, and we touched on this in our post-game on Nesson yesterday, I think it's important to go back to it. The value of fun. And I know that people out there, especially some hockey parents, and I don't think we've got a lot of crazy hockey parents listening to our show. At least I hope we don't. I hope if we have hockey parents listening that they're not the crazy type and that they're the realistic type and that they understand it's the moments that make up what hockey's all about. Sure, the game itself is incredibly important. However, it's the moments that make up your child's development in hockey. No different than adults. So David Krejci comes out of the locker room before pregame, and as they're getting lined up and they're getting ready to, to go out for warm-up, all of a sudden the team's going through their routine, and you could hear the spontaneity, the excitement in the voices of some of the guys. That Krejci came out. Right. Like he did it. Whoa. He did it. Yes. Yeah. And those are the moments that as players we all miss being on a team. Those are the things that you remember, right? It's those moments before you go on. It's the moments on the bus, whatever. But the value of that at the NHL level, I don't think gets enough credit. So I don't know if you have a favorite man bun moment type of thing from your time, but just to speak to the value of having that and how that changes the attitude and the mindset of a team going out to play a game when they've been struggling too.
That's right, and the value of it being David Krejci, who I would assume in that room is the older guy who's, he's a little quieter. He's the cranky old man now, compared to a Trent Frederick coming out and doing something silly or having a silly haircut. That's what you expect out of a young kid with a bunch of energy. But when David Krejci comes out and does it, that's the wow, that's the fun, that's the, hey, this guy gets it. This allows me to have fun. This allows Zach Senyshyn to have fun. This allows Dan Vladar to have fun. If this guy's having fun, during this season, and when it's serious and we just came off a bad loss, if he's the one doing it, that allows me to be myself as well. And every team, you have these moments throughout the season, and sometimes they're just goofy and off the wall and stories you just don't ever forget. Other times they're meaningful tipping points and meaningful situations where you gain momentum through it for 3, 4, 5 days. And typically, Billy, and you know that typically these are parties, these are dinners out, these are away from the rink where something happens. The St. Louis Blues talked about being at a bar in the afternoon and some guy yelling Gloria over and over again.
Right.
And they rallied around that afternoon of having beers together and hanging out, and something funny happened. So most of those for me that's what I think of as the fun nights where you're out on the road and something really funny happens and you talk about it all day or the rest of the road trip, and that gives you the energy, whether you're playing guilty about it or whether it was just priceless and it just something that you galvanize or you get closer to your teammates with. And it's all about getting closer to your teammates. And it was just you could tell, to your point, it was really, and I think we knew it watching warm up that it was something you don't see. It was just something odd. It was great. No buckets, great man bun, and then to see that reaction, that is something they're not able to get away from the rink. So to see it at the rink was fun.
Yeah, and this is something that because we've just been able to get back to the Garden live, for games about 10 days ago now. We probably wouldn't have picked up on if we weren't there, unless the camera got crazy, which, let's hope that they would have, and we would have gotten
and if it's a road game, right, even more so. If they're on Long Island, they're not going to, they're just not going to see it.
Right. Well, that's not true because Long Island does appreciate some retro hair. Trust me, from somebody who lived there for a while.
That's right.
That area of Long Island is
that's
kind
not
of
retro there, is it?
Right. When I got to Long Island, when I was doing the Islanders games, like the Zubas were still in style when I got there, and that was about those big baggy pants. That was about 10 years earlier. Just that little area of the island. So the man bun. They may have picked up on it and said, "Hey, look how stylish." But we wouldn't have picked up on it in theory. So this is what's great about being back at the rink for us. And what's also different, and again, I'm guessing that most of our listeners understand this, but the Bruins wear their helmets in warm-up. I can't tell you it's a hard, steadfast rule. But I think it's kind of unspoken rule. And by the way, Razor, I know that you love the no helmet, the look and everything. And who wouldn't? And I did it a few times playing in this glorified beer league, and it was great. But I got to tell you something. I think it's stupid in the sense of there's more pucks flying around in warm-up than there are in a game. However, with that said, this is one of those scenarios where, if you drive around with your seatbelt for 5 hours, it's not a big deal, right? But you know that there's that potential of this is what that is. But it worked. It was great. It was real, organic. A word that we use for, and now they got to build on it. So now they've got to take that team moment and say, "Damn it, all right." And by the way, the start wasn't great, so the man bun almost got cut off, but it worked out in the end.
That's right. Yeah, it seemed like they had a little chat after the first from the everyone talking.
They had to have.
After the game, it sounded like they said, "We need to get to our game, guys. Enough's enough." That was the take I got from some of the interviews, reading between the lines, and they certainly did. The first 45 seconds of that second period, it was voila, they figured it out.
Well, okay, so we touched on that in our breakdown in the intermission. I know it sounds obvious and easy, but for some reason this team has a hard time getting there, meaning putting pucks in, getting on the forecheck. Is this something, though, that I say that the coaching staff can actually take a little blame's not a blame, I guess. Look, everybody's culpable. But meaning that they've maybe tried to have been because in the few years ago they were so good at possessing the puck that maybe that's too ingrained in their mind and they need to change your style. But you and I have talked about this on Nesson before. We felt chip and chase more so has to fit this team than what they were before. So you think that there has to be more of that message sent to them?
I do. I think it just takes them a little bit too long to get to that. I think they allow them to try and play through it a little bit too much at times, and especially this season, especially with everything that's going into it, I feel like they could have got to this quicker. And I would just like to see them get it in between, make an adjustment in game. All right, tonight's not our night. Let's switch over to this rather than trying to keep pounding the East-West game over and over again until they get it. It's kind of like a guy in the NBA shooting threes. Like, all right, tonight's not my night. I'm going to drive to the basket rather than keep shooting these threes. There's only Steph Curry that can keep shooting the threes. That's the sense I get from this team, is that sometimes they just keep pounding the East-West rather than, all right, you know what, I'm not feeling it right now. Let's go get into the forecheck, switch things up a little bit.
That's why I think splitting the lines up makes much more sense for now at the very least, because the top line is so damn good when they're together. And I know lately they've struggled, okay? But you know what I mean. When they're on, they're so damn good that they can almost get away with anything. Really can. Both from a literal perspective, and even if they turn it over or whatever, they're still great, and they have Bergeron there backing up, etc. But I just think that ends up kind of going through the team, and the team identity has to be reestablished now, whether it's from the fourth line, which was better, although it was a mixture of a third, fourth line, but was better. Corrali getting in on the forecheck. They needed that straight line type of play. Or to even, finally Bergeron and Krejci's line, doing what you said the first 45 seconds of the second period, which totally established what they wanted to do and changed the tone of the game.
And I guess it's probably happened once this year, but when was the last? I don't remember the last time they scored on back-to-back shifts like that, or even scored a goal and then had a great opportunity the next shift. To put two shifts back together with two different lines hasn't happened very often, and it felt like they almost got to 3 and 4 yesterday afternoon, which is, we just haven't seen that momentum, that carryover momentum line to line. And that's the big positive coming out of that. And they did that because they kept it simple. And they had a little jump, and they carried that momentum rather than the we get a goal, now we're going to try and make a 200-foot pass, or we're going to try and go 60 feet cross ice, and now we're going back into our own end.
Right. And having to reestablish. Although, with that said, they had a couple of good minutes, and then all of a sudden, Pittsburgh was like, hey, settle down. In particular, Crosby, who we'll touch on in some of his acting skills coming up soon too. His dramatic flair.
Oh boy.
But I thought that look, I love the guy still as a player, Crosby, despite the flop, the oversell of the play. But he decided after being on his line was on the ice for both the Bergeron and the Krejci goals. Or I guess it was Pasternak that scored the second one, the Krejci line. He decided to be like, no, I'm back. I was a -2 the first minute of the period. Screw you guys, right? Type of thing. And that's what he can do, and his line can do that. So they did reestablish some really good. Gensel and then McCann scored on the power play. But then the Bruins didn't buckle. They buckled, but they didn't. No, they didn't buckle. Actually, they didn't buckle that much. They gave up 2 goals. Yeah. There was that potential feeling, right, of, oh shit, like here we go again. But I think the best part of the game was after McCann tied it 8 minutes later, when Brad Marchand comes through. It was at 14:56. I was looking up the exact time of the second period. That goal was enormous right there.
Massive couple saves from Yarrow in between that as well. He held the fort, kept it 3-2, and then when you got 3-3, they were back. They didn't, to your point, they didn't buckle, and they weathered that storm, that 8-minute storm of Sid, and taking advantage of a couple opportunities. That 3-3 goal, then you could see, then it's bang, bang, bang. The last 5 minutes, they get those 3, and you're like, "What? This is what we've been accustomed to, and this is what we've been waiting to see offensively. Is this roll them over, and creating opportunities, because they did have other opportunities. It wasn't, they dominated again the last 5 minutes. It wasn't fluky goals. It wasn't not just pucks going in because of a bad goaltender. This was we're imposing our will offensively.
And and so they get the Marchand goal, who, by the way, I love the fact that he is shooting more again. He's been shooting, but now, yesterday between the last couple of games, he's come into the play a few times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, he came into the play on Saturday's game too, right off the
Yep.
bench.
Yeah,
right?
off the bench,
And
right
he
through the
came
slot
up,
from Grizz. Yeah.
right, and he gets that great pass from Grizzly. But I love it. He's getting it, and he's just releasing it. We've seen that he had a hat trick, but 3 of his last 6 goals have been snipe. That's what I call. They've been snipe. Actually, 2 of the goals in this game were snipe too, as he went upstairs both times on Casey DeSmith.
Yeah.
That's a thing that we didn't see that much recently. It was more
I hang on to it. I'll look to go
Right.
back east-west and then shoot it rather than get it and go.
Right. And I love the pass as well to Krejci on the power play. And that's set up by him sniping again, too, and the head was up. And you made the point about not as easy as a tip, perhaps, as just standing there because, the pass is coming from a steep angle. You have to make sure to have strong hand on the bottom of your stick. Now, Krejci being a righty, if he has the stick on the right part of in the right area, all he's got to do is really spin that like a bottom hand push with it to make sure it goes in. You have to have soft hands, but you cannot have weak hands on that play. Otherwise, the puck goes, the spin on it basically takes it off the blade of your stick. But it was real good movement. They get into the third period, and Pastrnak continues. He played better. He did. He played better. I still think he's got more, though. Even though he had 2 goals in that game and assists, I think he's got more, Razor. I do. I think there's that
he
level
does.
to get to him.
He does. The eye test for me, he looked different. He looked more energetic. And again, it's so easy for us, right? The 5th floor to judge energy and judge. But there was a couple other plays where he was skating better. He was taking guys on and not in just a lackadaisical way. It seemed more purposeful. It was a positive. Listen, he scored goals. The other thing too is we talked about it off air. He was excited to score. Yeah. You see the shootout goal the other day. Yeah, I do this. No big deal. Yesterday, he was pumped up that he scored that first one. He was given a fist bump. He had a lot of emotion, and I think that goes to that says something as well. Not just this is what I do. This is all right. I'm figuring this out. I'm happy about it.
Yeah. And they need that because he brings energy. Going back to the whole Krejci thing, he brings energy to this team that you can't fake it. It's
right.
real.
He doesn't fake energy.
No, he does not. He doesn't. And you know who doesn't either is Krejci. I know Krejci is this. He's down the middle. He is quiet, but he's one of those guys when he says something or does something, it's real. You talked about that earlier in the show about you see Krejci do something like that. It's real, but he also you can tell when he's unhappy. David is a very clear face and expression, and if you sat with him in the locker room, he doesn't BS you. He'll tell you stuff. So Marchand with 3 goals and an assist, he was a +4. Pastrnak 2 goals and an assist. Patrice 1 goal +3 on the game. Nick Ritchie 2 assists in the game. Craig Smith 2 assists with 3 shots. Some good numbers. One guy I want to talk about specifically, Sean Corrali, back after missing 2 weeks with the COVID list. I did think he's a -2 in the game. I mean, look, there were 5 goals scored or whatever. He's not out there scoring with. But I mean, we did a breakdown of his game, and I thought he was good. He's going to have to continue that exact pace. North-south, finish first hit, put pucks in areas. He did have that one turnover that we showed, that, like, tried to make a pass at the blue line. Like, no, Sean.
Yeah.
Put it in. But otherwise, that's the Corrali that this team needs. Whether you want to label third, fourth line, I don't care. The fourth line was an interesting makeup. I know you wanted to see that P. Bruin line. I don't know how far this team can go with that line, though. I don't know. It's not a bad line for regular season, Razor. I don't know if I see that come playoff time, though, assuming they make it there.
Yeah, they're going to need probably another piece there. But to that point, I do like it. I like the fact that they're putting them together. They allow them to play their game. There's going to be no deferral between those 3 guys. And listen, we talk about the young guys stepping up. Give them some responsibility there, the 3 of them, and not have a Corrali in the middle to try and bail them out or in and out. let's see, get similar to Krejci and Pasta. Give them 3 or 4 days here together, and if you have to cover them up with the Corrali back in the lineup, then you lean on that third line. And that's up to Corrali and Coyle to protect that fourth line a little bit, put them in good situations, allow them to get offensive zone faceoffs, etc. So
Yeah.
I love Corrali's game, and now it's as much as it is for the team to continue that, it's up to him to continue that.
Yep.
And stay in the lineup, make this thing move on the bottom six. If you just named 6 names that got points, got on the board in a big way on the top 2 lines, let's see the bottom 6 names continue that momentum and keep those guys going. And that's up to Corrali and Coyle and even Bjork to that point to keep that skating energy, keep that momentum, and let the kids fill in when they can.
In theory, that third line of the Corrali line, they were the third slot on Saturday's game with Bjork on the left, Charlie Coyle on the right. In theory, that line should be, in many ways, a very good puck possession line.
Mm-hmm.
They should, grind it out, ground and pound it out type of thing.
And with Corrali and Bjork, they should be able to go get it too.
They should, right? They should. The fourth line didn't play more than 8 minutes. Studnicka he played 8:13. The other 2 played up just under 8 minutes. I don't know over the course of this crazy season, Razor, if you can play your fourth line under 10 regularly. I just don't know if you can. The wear down effect of the other lines is tremendous. I think it's too significant. I did think Chris Wagner would have been back in on Saturday. I did, after what happened on Thursday. Bruce Cassidy and his staff thought differently. They wanted to do that other line there. To me, that's a pretty strong message. It is. Now, the other, what's Jake DeBrusk? What's his status? Does he come back? And if Jake does and he comes back flying and you get Wagner back in, that brings 2 veterans in and then perhaps may push 1 or 2 of those kids out of the lineup.
Yeah, you got to imagine Jake's not going to see the top 2 lines when he comes back. So
no, not right now.
That puts into play. You put him on move Bjork down.
Well, I don't know, Bjork. I mean,
he's been good there too. So you put DeBrusk on the fourth, with the 2 young kids, and just have him go get your game, go skate,
right. Or you put DeBrusk if you do DeBrusk on the left, and if you try to get Wagner going again, you put him on the right. I don't know where they are with that, but then you say to Frederick in the middle, different look.
Yeah, there's that's the good thing with him. There's more options, and the young guys playing. And to Wagner's point, it seems like they're not worried about him getting going at this point right now, and that's got to be a little alarming.
Well, that's hard for a guy though too.
Yeah, it is.
It's hard. All right, a couple of other things that quickly to discuss here. The good news, bad news. The bad news is that Carlo injured again, being evaluated week to week. The good news is it's not his head. They said it was upper body below the neck, and that was their way of saying it's not a concussion. So that's the good news.
Really good news. I was resigned to the fact it was a concussion and that he was out for the next month.
I was fearful of that too.
Being a Holiday Inn doctor that I am, but that's what I was. That's what I just surmised. So that was good to hear that it's not the head.
Yeah. Let's see. Sidney Crosby. We watched that play. Bergeron did catch him up high with the butt end. There's no doubt about it, right? Okay. Yeah. Come on. I mean, it was Sniper City, man. From some guy got him from 400 feet away, and
yep. Bingo.
And it was soccer-esque. It was soccer-esque. Who was the best flopper that you played with? Do you remember? Was Burroughs a flopper or no?
Burroughs flopped a little bit. Avery. I played with Avery in junior. He would do crazy, silly, stupid stuff.
Yeah,
a flopper. Trying to there's definitely a good list Steve Ott was always under guys' skin. He did a flopping for effect at times too, where he'd get in the mix and
That's
put
true.
the head back. He was
the head. It was the head.
It was the head snap. The head
Come
snap,
on.
like
right.
like.
And then he almost did. You remember from Rodney Dangerfield, the triple Lindy. It seemed like he almost did
Yeah.
and then went down.
Yeah.
And while I can't argue that it wasn't a penalty, I'm not going to argue that. And if there's blood drawn, folks,
Yeah, no,
that's the
what
call.
it is.
But come on,
There's
Cross.
times where that doesn't get called at that point in the game because you just get it and you keep playing through it. But listen, Sid's, there's articles, if you go back, you see what Sid was like his first 5-6 years in the NHL, and there's talk of it even still with him and Ovi. A lot of players sit on Ovi's side because of
Brandon Dubinsky came out with it recently.
Yeah, and that's the real thing. There was a lot of guys that, got tired of Sid's game real quick early on, and he still has that in him a little bit. That team does. Letang's the same. That team has some of that in them. There's the bit of an identity with that.
You're absolutely right, and I got to find out. I should look through old notes when I get time. The relationship or lack thereof, or something. The history between Letang and Brad Marchand.
Yeah, they go at each other.
They both played in the Q. Now they've played together before too, but there's a wonderful, nasty battle going back and forth. Now it could just be that Marchand knows him enough and has a history enough that it goes on, and they're both yappers and they're both involved in different ways. You know how, remember for years Brad Marchand and PK Subban had that running thing too. So that's something that was fun. Although again,
those guys are magnets to each other.
They are
each other.
A couple of other things. We had a lot of interaction with fans during the game on Saturday. Our buddy Dominic T, who we're thrilled to have back involved with us, and back just chatting with us via social media. He was giving us, I think he was just kidding, but he said, I expect a demonstration. Remember I put out there on social media about the saucer pass by Nick Ritchie, the short sauce. It wasn't the long sauce. It was that short sauce. And because I put out on Twitter.
Short sauce is tough.
It's tough. Work on it, though. Kids, it's so tough. Like, it's the up-down. There's no better player than doing it than I've seen Crosby's phenomenal, especially on the back end. But David Krejci, the short sauce, I don't know how he does it. But Big Nick Ritchie, had a gorgeous short sauce. Like, it was the old up-down. It was, and I'm trying to show it here, but
Big Nick's got a lot of skill. He's sneaking up on the skill. And we talked at the game against New Jersey, or he's kicking it up to his feet and chipping it in front. Like, what a revelation he's been this year.
This year he has. So Dominic, it's that bottom hand, buddy. When you get it, and it's just that subtle opening of the blade. I think you're being facetious about it, Dom, but because I thought it was actually such a good demo too, and unfortunately we can't do it here. I don't have the whole setup yet and everything. But kids, strong soft top hand, strong bottom hand, but when you get it, it's just a flick. It's just a short, quick flick. The blade has to be open a millimeter, and it will sauce up and over. So great stuff. And lastly, but definitely most important, I learned something from Adam on Twitter. I'm trying to get Adam Oldcrow. All right, Adam Oldcrow. He said, and we talked about this, because when we were talking in post game about you were talking about, it was water I thought was in Krejci's hair for pre, because you can't put product in your hair before you go out there. Now, this coming from a guy who's mostly bald now, used to have a ton of hair. You've seen the old pictures. I used to have a ton of hair, but I used a little mousse. I didn't like mousse. I was much more of a gel guy. But Adam says he understands, I'm paraphrasing here, about not getting stuff in your eyes because that sucked. But pomade, am I saying that right? Jesus, I sound like an ass. Pomade. Yep. And hair products have evolved since your days. Yes, I am old, 52. There's wax-based products that don't sweat out in your eyes. Stuff is great for hockey or playing live shows. Either he's in these, I can't tell if he's in these live shows. I'm guessing this is him that's in the band. It is. This is Adam in a band, okay? So maybe he'll have to make some music for our intro, right? Maybe RC on that. So I'm getting lessons in hair products, again, from the guy who is bald. You should be talking hair
Thank
products.
God for Twitter.
Right. So did you put gel in your hair?
No, never. No dippity doops.
Because you would go into a game, especially if you were sitting on the bench, right? And then it would still get in your eyes.
And that was like back, I guess in the 2000s, you'd have to put a little gel because you didn't wear the hat back then. You weren't really allowed to wear the hat. So you put a little product in there if you're not going to play, or you wait till after the first to see if you're going to have to go in, and then you go into the second period, and then you want to look good for whatever's going on in the crowd. So, or on TV for your mom. So
Right.
maybe put a little dippity do in there in the second period, but no, you can't do that before warm up because it would be it's in your eyes, it's all over your stuff, it's in
Yeah.
your helmet. You have to put that helmet on the next morning. Don't forget when you wake up and go to practice in the morning. It's the same helmet, so that's all gross and disgusting. Yeah,
I think the only way you would do it, I'm guessing, is if you wore it in warm up, you went in and then dunked your head, rinsed it off real quick before the game. But regardless, I really appreciate the response from Adam and all of the fans here of Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. We're getting some unbelievable analysis and information that has nothing to do with hockey, but hair products. So I can tell that we're starting to really make it when we get
yeah, that's right. When we're talking pomade.
Yes, we're
Pomade.
talking the pomade, whatever. So it's great stuff. Listen, thanks to all the fans. Coming up for the Bruins, Monday and Tuesday, home and home, back to back with the Philadelphia Flyers. Razor and I will have shows for you after every game. We keep saying it, but it's a huge game coming up because Philly has been. You want to talk about buckling lately? They've broken actually numerous times. They still have skill, but they are having a hard time figuring out the will part, especially team defense. With that said, do not take them lightly if you're the Bruins. Go in and give it to them these next couple of games. If you don't, this game means squat that they just won. If
That's
you
right.
do, you probably put them in your rearview mirror. And more
Yeah, you
questions will
can get in the playoffs with 2 wins. Both
Probably.
teams, Rangers and Philly, dropped a point last night to Buffalo and Islanders respectively. You win these 2 games outright, no regulation, you're in the playoffs.
Yeah. So let's hope
Yep.
that they do that. We will be on the lookout for any new hairdos. I don't know if Craig will go with the man bun again or if he goes back to the other.
It's a big storyline.
It is. We will have to see
storyline.
come Monday. In the meantime, listen, it's Easter Sunday. For those celebrating, for those enjoying that, please have a wonderful day. You have earned at least a second cup of coffee, perhaps even with a splash of something in it. In the meantime, if you're not, just have a great day. Stay healthy. Stay safe. We're working our way getting through this crap in this world, folks. It's going to take a little while longer. That does it for Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. Have a wonderful day. And as always, enjoy that wonderful coffee.